Right then, part 2 of the epic is William I in power, securing the kingdom 1066 to 87. How did William get London and the Earls to submit to him after Hastings? Well, his army was damaged, his army was injured, many men were dead, it was not an easy thing. And what had happened, you see, is the Earls that were left, the powerful English people that were left, our Anglo-Saxons, had gone to London, named Edgar the Atheling as king, and got ready to resist. William couldn't afford to take on London, so what he did is he sent his men and an army around London, basically on a rampage, like causing trouble, burning things down, intimidating. One of William's great tactics, to intimidate. And it worked. London submitted to him without a fight. Archbishop of Canterbury and Bishop of Winchester Stigand was the first person to submit to William, and the others followed soon afterwards. Now, second question is, what were the Marcher earldoms and why did William create them? There's a whole podcast on this quite obscure topic. The Marcher earldoms were earldoms created, relatively small earldoms, but compared to the Anglo-Saxon earldoms, definitely. But 3 big earldoms created on the border with England and Wales. In those earldoms were put some of William's most loyal, trusted, powerful supporters. He needed to reward them. And the Marcher earldoms were a bit special for those people. They didn't have to pay tax to the king. What a boon that is. They could also hold market days without having to ask permission. They could build castles without having to ask permission, and amongst other things which you can find out about in the video. So there's kind of 2 key reasons. He wanted to keep Wales in check and stop them raiding into England, and he needed to reward his most loyal supporters. What were Motte and Bailey castles, or why were they important for William? Well, you probably know what they are. Castles made out of earth and mud. They didn't look anything like the castles that you've probably potentially visited, the big stone castles. They didn't look like that yet, but they were so important. They played a key role in lots of rebellions. 7,000 Normans managed to rule over 2 million Anglo-Saxons, and castles was a key reason for this, because the Anglo-Saxons didn't have the technology or the experience of castles to defeat them. They'd not come across them before. There was something that were imported along with the Normans. And William built hundreds of castles up and down the land, or William and his supporters did. And they helped to defeat rebellions. One of the first things he did when he took London was build a castle. A rebellion in Exeter, near the start of his reign. As soon as he beat that rebellion, he stuck a castle in there. And the thing that we're about to talk about now links to this. The Edwin and Morcar rebellion. As William marched north to deal with it, he built castles on the way, and it was the building of a castle at Warwick which defeated the rebellion of Edwin and Morcar. That was the time when that was built. It split Edwin and Morcar from Edgar the Atheling, who had gone up to Scotland to get support, and Edwin and Morcar just gave up. So what happened in the Edwin and Morcar rebellion? Well, they got fed up because they felt that they'd not got the things that either they deserved or had been promised. I think Morcar was told he could be Earl of Northumbria, but his earldom of Northumbria was just far smaller than it had been before, and Edwin had been told he could marry into William's family, but that hadn't happened either. And they were probably annoyed that they'd been dragged around Normandy by William in 1067, because William went to Normandy and took all people who might have rebelled with him. Clever idea. So they were all annoyed. They won't have to rebel, and as I've just told you, the castle at Warwick compelled them to surrender again. And what happened in the Northern rebellions? Well, Edgar the Atheling, who I've just mentioned during the Edwin and Morcar rebellion, went to Scotland, stayed there and waited for his chance. And it started in Durham, a rebellion there. The Normans that were in control of Durham were killed. The leader there was burnt to death in the bishop's house. And Edwin must have been in Scotland. Edgar the Atheling in Scotland heard of this and he's been like, right, I'm joining in. And the rebellion went to York, caused mayhem there, and then William went north to deal with it. And when he went there, the rebels melted away. Like, oh, William's coming, quick, go. So William went back down to London, sorted. And then in 1070-71, the rebels came again. and this time they slaughtered loads of Normans that were left in York, and actually this is the only time they managed to take a castle. The only time English rebels managed to take a castle was in that second rebellion, and some Danes had come across as well. So this was a big threat to William, and William marched up north to deal with it. And what did the rebels do? Melted away again into the countryside. This is called guerrilla tactics. The Danes, well, they were still a problem. There was a Danish army there. What did William do? He paid them to go away. And then, if I skip a question here from Hereward Rebellion to why did William carry out the harrying of the North and what impact did it have? Well, the threat that the North had produced for William, those two rebellions, especially the fact they brought the Danes in, that second rebellion, and it managed to take a castle, it was a huge threat to William. So his answer to that threat was to kill everybody he could find and anything he could find, to put salt in the field so things won't grow, to knock buildings down, to burn buildings down, and it was said that 100,000 people died as a result of this. 100,000 people. That's just crazy numbers at that time when there's only 2 million living in the whole country. That's what, 5% of the entire population, according to some accounts. And what happened? It was carnage. And there's another reason he did it, and that's because when he went to go and fight the rebels, they went and used their guerrilla tactics. They went and hid or went away until William went away, and then they came back out to fight again. So he couldn't fight them and stop them, so he just went on the rampage. Did it work? Yeah, it kind of did it in terms of stopping rebellions, but it was a bit of a case of cutting off your nose to spite your face, because by decimating the North, William prevents a whole area of England that could have given him some wealth, could have given him some tax. What happened in the Hereward Rebellion? Well, it's a bit different. It happened on the Isle of Ely. So that was one reason it was a bit of a threat. It's on an island. It's hard to attack an island. Hereward the Wait was probably a thane who was annoyed about losing his land. And they also got the Danes to come along. And this time it was the King of Denmark, not just a Danish army. They went and attacked Peterborough Cathedral, stole some treasures from there, and actually the Danes then weren't right interested, especially when William turned up and again offered them money to go away. So they got treasure, they got money, they went. It's a bit like giving your dinner money to a bully. The bully's not going to go away, he's just going to come back for more, and that is what happened. Of course, when he paid the Danes to go away in the Northern Rebellion, Hereward still need dealing with, and also Morcar had joined in with this rebellion. Edwin probably had joined in and decided to go north to get support, but he was killed by his own men, so that's what happened to Edwin. Morcar joined in anyway. So William attacked the Isle of Ely. He initially had a bridge built across to the island, but the bridge collapsed and some of his men died, but he did get across the island. We're not entirely sure which of two methods meant he got there. It was either he paid some local monks to show them a secret way over to the island through the marshes, or he built another bridge and it worked. But yeah, we don't know what happened to Hereward. It's just lost to history. But people who were captured on the island were mutilated, had hands or feet cut off or both, their eyes poked out. They were severely punished as a warning. How did land ownership change from Anglo-Saxon to Norman? Well, almost entirely. It was Normanisation. The Old English earls, the Old English thanes were almost entirely replaced by Normans or people who had supported William's invasion from Northern Europe. I cannot remember the exact stats off the top of my head. I remember a lot off the top of my head, but not that exact stat. But I think there was maybe one English thane left in control of his land, and three, or was it one bishop, I think, thinking of the church. Anyway, there was barely any. That's all you need to know, really. You can look at your revision guides and things for the stats on that. But it happened gradually. Yeah, to begin with, at the start of his reign, it seemed like William wanted to create an Anglo-Norman state, a bit of a mix. But maybe the rebellions caused William to think, this ain't happening, I'm putting my men in charge, they just keep rebelling. So there we go. 4 key reasons why William managed to overcome all of this. 1. There was no strong English leader. Edgar the Atheling was the best they had. And what was he? He'd completely been overlooked in 1066. He wasn't one of the serious contenders, and he's kind of the best they've got. 2. William's decisive, bold leadership. Whenever there was a problem, William went and sorted it out. It was right there sorted out. I've given you plenty of examples just then. Also, the rebels didn't coordinate. There was Hereward's rebellion, there was rebellion in the north, there was Edwin and Morcar. If they'd all joined together and worked together, maybe they would have had a more chance of actually succeeding. And one of the other reasons, big reason, we've talked about castles. And they built hundreds of castles. The Saxons didn't have the technology to beat these castles, and they played a part in the rebellions. There's only one occasion when a rebellion is recorded to have taken a castle. But that wasn't the end of the rebellions, because later, in 1075, there was the Revolt of the Earls, which was a big, different revolt. This time it wasn't Anglo-Saxons rebelling, it was people who came from Northern Europe, crossing the invasion with William. And it was Robert and Roger and Waltheof, who was Anglo-Saxon. At a wedding, they decided to plot against William and gather an army to go and attack him. Of course, Waltheof got cold feet, or wasn't really into it in the first place. He went and told the Archbishop of Canterbury by that point, Lanfranc. And Lanfranc, acting as regent alongside Bishop Odo, they went and dealt with the rebellion. They crushed it, sorted it out. Because William didn't even come out of Normandy to deal with it. But it was dealt with. And Waltheof, he got his head chopped off. Just a bit mean, because he's the one who kind of warned people about it. But I guess it was just used as an opportunity to get rid of the last major English earl. Or maybe William had just been fed up of Waltheof getting involved with things. I can't remember which way around it is, but one of Roger or Ralph got put in prison for the rest of his life, and the other one just fled and never came back. So there we go. That was the Revolt of the Earls, 1075. Bishop Odo and Lanfranc marched an army. They split Roger and Ralph in two. The armies didn't manage to meet up in the middle, as one was in the east, one was in the west. And Bishop Odo and Lanfranc marched their army up the middle, separate them, defeat them one by one. Job's a good one. So that is section 2.